Hello, 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 and welcome to Shared Space with Quida and Chap. Today we have Miss Bianca Jackson. I am LaQuita Chansey, the founder and director of Baltimore Homes, and we build micro shelters and tiny homes for folks who are unhoused. And we stand in the gap. We feel we are the bridge between the community and institutional situations, institutional everything, okay? Because the way this world is set up, y'all know. I say life be life in, but it's really the system that be doing some of the stuff. But we're gonna get into that later. Chapo, what have you been up to before we let Miss Bianca Jackson introduce herself?
Man, I want to get into it because I need more information on the metaverse. But real quick, Chaplain David Lovelace. I'm full-time volunteer chaplain for Baltimore City Police Department. Well, for the city through the police department. Let me correct that. And like we just said, we stand in the gap. We bridge the gap between people and systems, and people and communities. Meet needs, whatever needs are out there that are presented to us. We've got a great tribe and a great network in Baltimore that there's nothing we can't handle. So if you guys are out there and you have a need, reach out to us and we'll take care of it. It's what we do. Um, I was excited to tell Quita I just ordered the Black Butterfly from Urban Reads, Miss Tia, our book merchant over at Lexington Market. There is a housing symposium coming up at Lexington Market on March 18th. Quita will be in on what can I put it out there? She's gonna be traveling, having some me time, refilling the hope tanks. So I will be there checking it out. Um, and at the end of the show today, stick around, guys. We have a really cool promotional video for a Gogi project that they just put together. So we'll be getting that out there in the universe, maybe in the metaverse, with Miss Bianca Jackson's help. But Miss Bianca J Jackson, please introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. So let's see how to introduce myself. Hi there, my name is Bianca Jackson, and I'm new to Baltimore. I would say not so new, but kind of new, right? So it's been about 4 years, but it feels like it was yesterday because of the pandemic, right? So I'm originally from North Philadelphia, and my background has been tech my whole entire life. And so most people know my work now as being involved in the metaverse. So most people say they don't know what it is. They don't know if they're in it. You've been in it for a really long time. So through virtual reality, augmented reality. So if you use filters on your phone, like social media, you're in the metaverse. If you talk to Siri, Alexa, any of those things, natural language processors, you're in the metaverse. So, and if you have kids who play like Fortnite, Roblox, and they hitting you up for money, you in the metaverse. So there's just all these general examples to kind of like let people know that you've already been in it. You just may not have known it.
All
Wait
right.
a minute. So is it basically the metaverse is anything that's like artificial intelligence? Like
No, not necessarily.
programming?
No. So think like a
Like
virtual
how are
world.
filters the metaverse specifically? Like that part just blew
So
my
yeah, so metaverse technology, right? So there's different types of technology that will be considered metaverse technology. So AR or augmented reality. So if you remember a long time ago, there was a game called like Pokemon Go where people were chasing Pokemons in the streets, getting hit, all types of stuff, right? So what it did was overlay the monsters and the creatures on regular streets, and you had to go find them in real life, right?
mind. Right.
So all augmented or AR is like you're putting technology on top of something that's real. Virtual
Okay.
reality is you're going into a virtual digital world to go interact as an avatar. And so video games are a big parallel to it, right? And so
Right.
most of us are familiar with playing video games as whatever character, as you can imagine. And so the technology now is just becoming a little bit more mainstream, but believe it or not, it's pretty old. Like we're talking like people started to play around with this stuff maybe like the 60s or the 70s. And so now you're starting to see, yeah,
In
more.
what way though?
No, take me to school too, because I love sharing.
Right. Like we need to dig in because listen, sis went to Spelman for computer science. So I'm like, give me the details. Like I'm in community now, but I started
And look, let,
messing
let,
with the
let me comment
computers,
real
right?
quick before she hits that. So in the '60s, people don't know this. In the '60s, there was I'm a gamer, right? In the
Mhm.
'60s, there was a video game console that came out like 1962, produced by Magnavox, called the Odyssey.
Mm.
And so people didn't know that. Like before PlayStation, before Atari and all that, in the 60s there was a home console. So maybe it has maybe that's part of the story there. But please tell us, what were they
Well,
doing in the 60s with the metaverse?
no, so basically that, and also kind of like top secret military projects, right?
Mm,
So anything
Always,
that,
right?
yeah, anything that his mass consumption started in the military as some type of research or experiment, right? And so computers have been around for a really long time. Virtual reality, I would say most people started to experiment, or at least it made it to pop culture in the movies, probably like in the 80s. So think Total Recall, 90s, or even early 2000s, The Matrix. And so the technology has been around. It hasn't always been for mass consumption. And so
Right.
the funny thing is, people say to me, "Oh my God, this is such new stuff. Like, don't we have a few years before it takes off?" And I'm like, "It's not new. It's been around for a really long time. We're just finding more day to day uses for it." And I think we're
Right.
finally at a point now where it's going to explode. We already saw it happen with everybody wanting to jump in and get NFTs and sell NFTs, and just the craziness that happened over the last year, because there were a lot of money being made, and although also cryptocurrency. And so I want to not necessarily keep the conversation all the way up here with the technical jargon. Just know that all of it is changing, and it's changing really fast. And
Rapidly, right.
the simplest way to understand it is a new economy,
Mhm.
as a new virtual economy that exists in these places that you can't technically see other than being in virtual reality.
So
So
then, go ahead. Nope,
I
finish.
was gonna say, so kind of like the gaming example that Chap brought up. If you have kids who play games, they more than likely hit you up to buy something in the game, right?
Yeah.
Currency. And so it's kind of, I don't know, I like to say that technology companies have been already training your children for the future of the global economy anyway. So if you don't know nothing about it, get your 5-year-old to 12-year-old to 18-year-old, sit you down in front of that Fortnite in that Roblox and
Right.
show you what they're doing, because this is exactly what's happening. We hold events in virtual places where people all over the world can attend. We're not selling anything just yet, but it's coming, right? And so I think that it's important for people to be naturally curious about this stuff. And
Right.
gamers have a huge advantage over everybody, because none
Right.
of this stuff is foreign to them. They're like,
Right.
"Oh, that was in last version of that game."
When
Right.
I,
Right. I
when
saw that before.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
share when COVID hit. So we were coordinating with the guys who do the African American Heritage Festival in Towson,
Mm-hmm.
because we were going to do like my nonprofit. We're going to throw this big festival as well, and so we're coordinating with them.
Yeah.
And what they ended up deciding to do, which like to me, um, I dismissed it immediately and kind of broke off conversation, is that they held the festival virtually. They sold tickets and people virtually attended this festival. And that's a part of the world that you're talking about, right? So for me, it was like discouraging to me because I'm very much an in-person person. And so like in general, and I'm going to play a devil's advocate here while you speak on what you're about, because it is coming. It's there's a lot going on. For me, the social media, even the games, and like being on Discord and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, it gives it gives your mind the illusion of being connected to people while you're physically disconnected and isolated, right? So there's like an incongruency there that's I feel is unhealthy for our emotional well-being.
Mm.
um so how do we, so how's it affected, how's the metaverse going to affect those things, and moving forward, right? Like how does it affect how we emotionally take care of ourselves?
Hold on. So wait. Before you even get into that, I hear you.
Hmm.
Yes, and right, we have to think of the people that learn differently. Folks that have neurodivergent brains. Like
Hmm.
some people are learning better because of this. Some people are socializing more because of this. So although it isn't what we've as humans have been doing in the past, like the technology exists now. So human touch, like find your community in your backyard and be healthy about what you're doing. I feel like everything in moderation, but we can't forget that this allows folks to be included that weren't included before. So it's another way to be inclusive. But go ahead, Miss
Oh,
Jackson.
and I
This
was
is
gonna
your
say,
lane.
let me just tell you, you know how our kids made it through the pandemic? They play games with their cousins, their friends, even strangers that they didn't know all over the world. And one of the biggest places that they play is Roblox. So that's literally how they made it through the pandemic. The pandemic was nothing for them. Like
Right.
they didn't lose communication of friends. They just were happy they didn't have to go to school. So like I think that our children are always very resilient to catastrophic change, and that was actually the perfect experiment to see what would happen if we did have a society where we could not go outside anymore. Like how would people adapt? And children just showed that it's very possible and healthy to do it that way with being in these virtual worlds. Now I'll say this. There, of course, were tons of stories and tragic stories of people not quite making it through the pandemic because they needed that physical touch. But I will also tell you this. I run kind of like an event space here in Baltimore. And so when we had a business that relied on foot traffic that no longer had foot traffic, we had to figure out how we still carried off our events. And so we moved into the metaverse, right? We started having these really fun, kind of animated video game like experience where people are like, dancing with their avatars. And so, for a local company based in Baltimore, our events reached South Africa, Rwanda, and Kenya. And so, that would have been completely unheard of. We wouldn't have been able to do anything like that with our physical space. So, I think there's pros, I think that there's cons. I think that people just kind of need to educate themselves. And it's not like education as in go sit in the classroom, even though that could be helpful, but like just really pay attention to what your kids are doing and actually have them explain it to you. I'll never forget. I was at a gaming conference, right? And this woman, this mom got up and like started yelling at her son. Was like, "You play these games all the time!" Like, so she was really upset, but not. Yeah, girl, it was a whole mess. And but I was sitting there thinking, like, she has no idea how lucrative gaming is. And Chap, I know you can speak to this, where teams
Mhm.
are spending millions of dollars of just playing
Millions.
millions
Teenagers.
teenagers. But the thing for me is it's not them winning the millions, it's them already having the skills of the future. That's what's blowing my mind. Like to be able to look at a game and break down the storyline, to be able to storyboard it, to be able to tell the story, to if you're artistic, to be able to draw the clothes and model the clothes that go on the avatars, to start learning, motion graphics and how to become 3D engineers. Like for me, that's the more exciting part. So if I can already take something that you are already very interested in and figure and show you how you can make money out of it, oh,
Right.
we are to the races.
Right.
And
Right. And they're
and
going to be engaged. Like at that age, I work with Den, and I think you might have worked with them in the past too, Bianca. I don't know. Have you worked with Den Education or had any of their youth work students? For some
Not
reason, I
sure.
felt okay.
Yeah.
Did you work with youth works? For
Mhm.
some reason, I felt
Yeah.
okay. So it's youth works. I made up the Dent part. My bad. Totally made that up. But working with them, like I'm working with them and doing working with Dent specifically, but recruiting some youth and getting them to talk is like sometimes pulling teeth. Like some of them
Yes.
will talk about anything all day, but it is a select few. And so to your point, like gamifying anything, being familiar with the games and being familiar with that universe of it all, it really does help to make the connection and to keep the energy going. Like they're going to show up because they want to be there. They're like, let's work on this avatar, let's build these things. So Chap, go ahead and say what you were going to say, but I have a question for Bianca.
Oh, well, just back to the gaming thing. So I think gaming right now is the easiest way for people who are unfamiliar to familiarize themselves. It's easily accessible on all levels. Roblox is free, Fortnite's free, right? So like, if you have access to a computer, you can play those things for free and access. Um, I agree. Like when I grew up, like video games were a pariah. Video games were like, it was a sin. It was horrible. You're a horrible person. Like go outside and play. But we played video games anyway, and now you see Electronic Sports League. You see LCS with League of Legends. You see colleges offering esports scholarships as if you were a
An athlete.
Division 1 football player, right? Because they are athletes. Like I have a crew of kids in my house on the weekends who are at one point a couple years ago before COVID when Overwatch first dropped, we had a highly competitive team that would sit in my basement and we would destroy like we'd scrimmage with like pro LCS and esports teams,
Mhm.
and these kids from Baltimore would like, pardon my language, they would crap on them, man. And it was just so much fun. And it was like because the kids you that don't look like athletes, but you put them in a certain context and they are, right. And so they're like you said. So to your point, although I do want to play a devil's advocate in some aspect here, but to your point, yes, it allows people who might not have access to that kind of confidence building or experience now have access to that experience through gaming. So, and then on top of that, streaming, like I try to teach the kids, you don't have to be really great at a game, but if you just stream your content, stream you playing the game, your audience will find you. And then, when you're on YouTube, when you're on IG and stuff, I think YouTube paid partnership is like if you get 1,000 subscribers and you get 4,000 hours of viewed content within 12 months, you qualify to get paid on YouTube, right?
Yep.
So you don't have to be the best or elite. You just have to have content and people that like watching you.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Yeah, so Bianca, I wanted to thank you for one pointing out those transferable skills, like those
Mhm.
skills that are already baked in what folks are already doing. I feel like people don't recognize their gifts. So just laying it out on the line, like you play games. So whether you're good or bad, this, and this is true, right? Like that's how that works. So I love that you said that. But I want to know more about the metaverse and how you worked with it with the youth work students because like how to tell us more because here are the things that I'm thinking about, right? I also work with a virtual school and we have a digital citizen social club. And
Nice.
so some of the things
Wow.
that we have to discuss are like, we're going to debate, not argue. So, like, we're not going to keep repeating ourselves. We're not going to talk over one another. We're having a conversation. We're debating. We're not arguing. But it's like the social etiquette of it all. How do you make sure people aren't acting up?
Mhm.
Is there like a permissions, a privilege? Do you get a ticket? Like, give me the details of how these parties work, please.
So I don't want to use the word party because I think that's restrictive, right? So there's all
Okay.
types, yeah, all types of events that happen. So one, like for example, last week or the week before, we did a tour of a concert venue that we built in the metaverse, right? And so the idea was to engage musicians, artists, uh, music, record labels, anyone adjacent to the music industry. We had DJs in there, we had hosts, and so the idea was to bring them inside of an environment where it's related to the work that they already do, right? And so as far as the behavior, most part people come in there pretty decent. Like we don't
Okay.
have anybody acting up because everyone's there for the most part and trying to figure out how this is going to further my business and how is this going to further my work. So they came to learn how to get the bag, right? So
Right.
they're going to come with, I'm trying to take as many notes as possible. I'm trying to really see what this thing is about. I hear everybody keep talking about it, but like, is there something here for me? And so we haven't had that problem, which is great. So in addition to like that environment that we built like a cigar lounge. So we're working with a client who's actually bringing the lounge to Baltimore and wanted to model out what it could look like. We're having conversations around like training hubs, training in general. What's some other stuff that we're working on? We built out some retail stores last year. Like it's really cool. So yeah, so
So
things,
are you saying like we could build like a tiny home together? Like is that
yeah,
the kind of thing
absolutely.
we could
Absolutely. So
do?
basically anything that you can do in real life, you can do inside the metaverse. Like people can go get locks in the metaverse. Like it's just kind of crazy, right? And so our particular angle is definitely leading with events because we started off as an event space, but like, having that be what I call the carrot, like getting people in. When it comes to new technologies, you got to find the easiest thing for people to say yes to. And so
Right.
concerts, music, meeting artists, meeting other people, something entertainment or media focus is the way that we get people in. And once you get here and you start asking us questions like, can you build a tiny house? Absolutely. Let's take this offline. Right. But I think that kind of like for all the parents and anyone who works with children, let the carrot be for you, just you watching them play and asking them to explain it to you. That's it.
I love
Like
that.
that's just
And
I
all.
love that.
I like you said with the artists and the events and stuff. So what I noticed is we were kids in the '90s,
Mhm.
um, we'd know somebody with a lot of money who'd run out in a bandominium, and they'd have big raves or big music parties and stuff. And
Yeah.
um, what we do now is like we have these silent raves, right? We have like which is the metaverse, right? They're using the technology. You're everybody's got headphones in and they're all tuning into the DJ. But like it's weird because if you walk into that scene and you're not part of it, it's like this silent room with a bunch of people like dancing and getting down. You're like, what on earth's going on, right? Because you're missing the experience because you don't have the technology. But also to your point, having having this space allows you access to people that you wouldn't normally have access to, right? So like where I might not be able to so there's a movie I like called Jamesy Boy, right? And the director James Burns, I might not be able to meet him in person,
Mhm.
but I'm able to like meet him in the metaverse, and he can have time to remotely, like we're doing now, right? Like you might not have time to come down to it like a studio, like they do with Fox and all the networks. Come down to a studio and sit with me and Quida and do the show, but because of this digital space, we're all
Mhm.
able to meet and have this conversation.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure who your favorite artist is, right? But let's just say, for instance, I don't know, Patti LaBelle decided she wanted to show up in the metaverse. How often do you get an opportunity to talk to Patti LaBelle directly?
Right. And you know who does it a lot? Actually, if you're familiar with Mesa, she's on all the time.
Mesa?
Mesa. Look up
Who's
Tell
Mesa.
us
She's from
more.
Baltimore. She sang with the group at the Italian group with Luther before he went solo. And
mm,
Mace is a very famous jazz singer from Baltimore. So, but I say it to say she always makes herself available on like IG and Facebook and different technology spaces where you can do like a Sunday afternoon, or I forget what night she does it. Like you can do karaoke with this very famous Baltimore singer in the
I love
metaverse,
it.
right? So pretty cool.
yeah, I just looked her up, so I'm gonna go find her on IG.
Oh, she's a queen. She's a
Right.
queen in
Say,
Northwest.
come to the
Yep,
next event. Look,
yep, yep.
I love it. I'm like, look at Beyonce. Beyonce said, I'm going to go to Google and
Yes.
find out exactly who I can invite to have a concert. Okay, because already I love that. That is well. Okay, so tiny homes are coming. Got it. Talked about youth work. Got it. So now, Brick Rose. So I think that the first time I met you was maybe when you first got here because I thought you were from here because you knew some of the people that I knew. Danielle Frisbee of Unboxing Change. I think you might have known Tierra from I Am Mentality. I felt like you just were knowing people that I was familiar with. And I said, well, dang.
I mean, sometimes it happens like that. Like you just happen to be at the right event and then you meet everybody, or at least, you go from one person to the next person. So, but yeah, no, but let me tell y'all something. Baltimore people are tough. Like when I got here, people were like, what high school you went to? I'm
Yep,
like, what?
yep.
And
And
then,
here's the sad part is that when you ask the OGs what high school you went to, and they tell you, you ain't never heard of it because Baltimore be closing schools like it's water, like just
okay. Yeah,
so.
well, let me just tell you the two schools were Poly and City. They ain't want to hear nothing else.
That's funny.
So you not even being from here, you knew the culture was if you went to Collier City, that was the thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the funny thing for me is that I was raised in Baltimore County
Uh-huh.
and Poly North City. I did not attend. I am a county bounty, right? So when I went down to Spelman and I would say Baltimore, people from Baltimore City was like, nah. I was like, I
That's
understand
because they
that
don't have
y'all
manners.
look, I don't care what they got because they
Because I
can't
don't call
control what I
people
say
out.
out my mouth. If
Oh
they can't
man,
control what I say out my mouth, and at the end
no,
of the day, people on the street don't understand redlining the way redlining has affected Baltimore that makes them say that difference, that makes them make that distinction.
mm,
And at the time, I really didn't either. I'm like, what? They don't know the difference? Like Atlanta, when they come to Baltimore, they're going to be in Owings Mills and call that thing Baltimore.
yep.
Okay. Like, let's stop playing. Like,
Yeah.
so I went ahead and shut that down. But to your point, I'm like, why do the high schools matter, y'all? Like what we doing today? We are grown as hell, but that's that's the culture of the city. And
Yes, it
so
is.
that's why you got to travel, folks, so that you understand that your culture is a little weird, or your culture is specific to your city, or whatever that might be. Like, that's why traveling is necessary, even if it's from the east side to the west side, right?
Mhm.
So I love that. So another thing I wanted to mention, you had oh something about the concerts, and you're not charging yet. Like, why not? Like, are people
Oh no, I didn't say we weren't charging. We just did a tour of one of the venues that we built. So that was just
okay?
like, yeah, for people to walk around it. But no, we charge for our events. The thing about when we started doing events December 2021 is like I wanted to already set the precedent that people would have to pay something. And it doesn't always have to be money, but like I wanted them to get in the idea of like this is what the the Googles and the Facebook and all these massive companies that are working together to build like this massive new digital economy. Like at some point, there will be digital currency required
Right.
for different things, right? And so it's just kind of like slowly bringing people along of like you're going to have to pay to get access. Now, pay is going to look a whole lot different. It won't always be data because now people are trying to find ways that the average person can monetize their data. So it's going to be something else.
So I have a question. We I say we, but Laquita and Tasmere Gathers have these pitch contests that they've been doing, right?
Oh,
So how do we expand or unpack that in the universe, in the meta universe, to enhance people's experience or to reach more people? Like, what does it look like putting that out there?
first of all, it's called metaverse,
Okay,
not meta universe. Okay.
thank you.
All right. All right. Like, all right.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, it
He's
looks
a
like,
Libra. It's okay.
yeah, it looks like being in a virtual space where people show up with their avatars and giving their pitches, right? And so that could be as simple or as elaborate as you want it to be. Um, you can create anything and you can create any environment that looks like real life or something that doesn't look like real life. Like you literally can have, I don't know, a stage with flying unicorns in the sky. Like it's it's really up to you of what you would want the experience to be. But I think the more important question is what's the objective? Are you trying to get more people to see the pitch? Are you trying to raise more money for the pitch? Are you trying to get more awareness around what you're doing? So kind of working backwards from, what is the expectation
I think I
objectives?
would think all of it, right, Quita? Like, because we'd also want to raise awareness to what you're doing, right? So if we got with you and maybe intentionally did some sort of digital pitch, or like I love the framework they've already set up and they've been doing with the pitch contest. So like my wheels turn, right? Like
Mm.
this
No,
that
Chap, listen, I'm there with you, but I'm thinking about, well, what about the people who are like, I want to participate, but I don't have the avatar. I'm not familiar with the metaverse. So I'm already thinking, well, okay, so some people are going to already be there, but the people who are marginalized, how do we get them included?
Mhm.
So are more people active in the metaverse, like on Facebook, and then we start with Facebook and teaching people how to build an avatar or create a profile. Like, what happens?
You
I
know
don't
what?
know.
Let me just
And
tell you
how long does it take to build it? Like, what happens? Like, how?
Wait. Let me tell you something. Facebook done got all y'all. They have made the world believe that they are the metaverse, and they are not. They
It's
just have,
just a name.
no. They just have one world. There's hundreds, if not thousands. Their world is called Horizon Worlds, right? And so there's many different quote unquote metaverse platforms where you can go in and create events. That's just one. So no, you do not have to start with Facebook. No, you
Good,
do
because I
not need.
don't like them.
It's okay. A
Right,
lot of people
right.
don't. You don't need a headset. So as long as people have a computer or a phone, they can get into some of these spaces. So
Okay.
you start to bring down the barrier of, keeping, I should say this, you start making it more accessible. You start
Hmm.
making it more equitable. And so that's what I'm really excited about is introducing as many people in Baltimore and beyond to this technology through technology they already got in their pockets and in their houses.
Hmm.
And so, how do we do that? How do we help you to do that? Like, what do we do?
Well, I think that one, making sure people watch this and see it, right? I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to new tech or what seems to be new tech, people are like, well, I'm already out because I don't have a headset. You know how many times I've heard that in the
That's the
last year?
first thing I said on the show, right? Like,
No, I know. And so I always have to make sure that I say it has nothing to do with the headset. Actually,
okay.
headset usage is going down. And more the companies that are making the worlds and anything tied to the metaverse are making it so that you can not only use your headset, but you can use your computer and you can use your phone because they want more people to adopt. Yeah, let me tell you something. These phones are probably the most powerful thing that you have in your pocket, and they themselves has metaverse technology on it. So I told somebody this the other day, and they looked at me with their mouth kind of like on the ground. You, especially if you have an iPhone, you have technology on there called it's like a lidar scanner. It's okay if it's bad, but like the fact that you have the technology on there, the lidar scanner is basically you can take your phone in any room or up to any object, scan it, save a model of that image, and then import it into a metaverse space. So, like for instance, somebody was at a museum in Philly and they scanned this really huge sphinx, like an Egyptian sphinx. They uploaded it to the metaverse and put it in one of their environments. So that right, mind blown, right? But this is what I'm talking about is like you're already walking around with the technology, you just don't know you got it. You just don't know you got it.
The iPhone, like I just, so are you saying that some Samsungs have it and all iPhones have it?
I definitely know all iPhones have it. I'm not sure about Samsungs, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely all
Mm-hmm.
iPhones have it.
That's all right. I'm team iPhone, so that's all that really matter. But I like to use inclusive language. I like to pretend every now and again that I care about Androids, right? So we're gonna
Well,
keep it
very good.
consistent.
So
Look, okay.
the workshop to teach how to people. Yeah, so I was doing that last year. We were doing a lot of workshops, and what I'm finding is that people like to consume information whenever they want to. They don't always want to show up for my workshop. So, like, do know that content is coming in some form. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best form to put it out on. Because I don't want to be like everybody else, like tons of YouTube videos, tons of TikTok reels. Like, no, I want you to know that you're getting quality information, and I'm not just out here in these streets dancing to some things I'm pointing.
Any old thing,
Yeah.
right? That's what it looks like sometimes. I love the idea of a tiny home, doing a tiny home workshop. Look, everything is tiny home in my head. I see a chair. I'm like, can that chair fit in a tiny home? Can we teach people how to build that chair? Because I'm a maker. Like, I'm gonna build it somehow, some way, and we got the technology behind it all. A smart tiny
Mhm.
home. Look, we're gonna figure it out one day, someday, someday.
Okay.
So I also saw on your website you do public speaking, right? So like, where are some interesting settings you've been in talking about your world?
Where did I meet you? Let's start there. And what were you doing there? And who were you interviewing? Because I was going to get into that as
Well, you
well.
tell me because I've done over 200. So I'm like, where did we meet?
So not the meeting, not even the meeting. I'm
Okay.
sorry. The last time
Oh, you
I
talking about
saw
women
you.
on the move?
Was it Women on the Move? That was the B local event.
Oh, B local event. Okay. See, that's what
And
I'm
you were
saying.
interviewing.
Oh, Ariane. So
Yes.
yeah, so all right, what's the question? I'm sorry, I got lost in trying to figure out what was the
No,
last.
I was just asking some of the, like, as a public speaker, some of the spaces you've been in, and people you've talked to, just kind of unpacking some of that, because that side of your entrepreneurship, because I mean it mentions you're a public speaker, so.
Yeah, so I thanks for the reminder. So I
Mhm.
think right now the stage that I'm probably most proud of being on is South by Southwest. So it's this big mega conference in Austin, and this is the same stage where Barack Obama was a headliner, right? So they have multiple different events, multiple different tracks, and so to be able to get on a stage like that, to be seen as an expert in this technology, and so
Ooh.
I haven't done it once; I've done it 4 times already since 2018. And so, and that's with a pandemic in the middle of it. So it's just like, it's been really awesome because even when I learned about the conference in, I want to say 2017, I was just like, oh, I really want to go, but I didn't want to pay. Like it was like the ticket is like $1,400, $1,700. Like it's something just stupid ridiculous.
Yep.
And I made this really crazy idea. I have crazy ideas all the time. I'm like, I want to go, but I don't want to pay. And so I started to research how to go and not pay, because that conference, they don't pay you unless you're Barack Obama. Um, and so you can get there, and this is a cheat code for anybody. Like if there's a stage that you want to go, want to speak on, and there's other high profile speakers, find the link on there where it says apply to speak, apply to panel, apply for a proposal. And that's what I did. And so what, Chap?
It's so funny because so I was late on it, jumping on it this year, but
Mhm.
I'm going to get Quida on TED Talks.
Okay.
And there's a fellowship you do and everything, and so it was 2023 is closed, but it was really cool. I reached out anyway and was rapping with the people, and they were telling me what to do and everything. So you might see Miss Chansey on a TED Talk in 2024 or following after her fellowship if it suits her and fits her vision. But I definitely want to open that door because like that's a dope stage to be on.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at your South by Southwest, and I'm looking at it like I'm gonna get on that stage because they do a film portion as well, and I'm just now stepping into the film industry, so hopefully y'all see me on there too.
But what are you doing in the film industry? Because
Well, I currently I am an actor.
okay.
I just signed my first speaking role, um, and then we're going to take it from there and keep rolling with it. But it's been a side hustle for a while.
Okay.
I've done everything from like security and catering to background acting. Just trying to keep my foot in the door and keep the door open until something happened. And finally, this year, something happened. So I have a fly out to LA, do a speaking role on a spinoff from Moesha called Kim and Nisi.
Okay.
One episode, but like it's that's the start, right? And so, but I'm a huge film fan. We're actually going to start. I didn't tell Quita this, but Jerome, the guy who's been commenting on the gamer stuff, he wants a tiny home for gamers. We're going to start doing a first Sunday film show on BlackUSA.News on Sunday evenings.
Mm.
So like I'm all about it, just starting to build momentum and 45 years film has defined my life, helped me express myself, relate to my world, and now it's my profession. So like I love everything about it.
Cool.
So
So
yeah.
what ideas did that give you? Are you like, we're about to put on a play? We're about to make a show. What you thinking? What we doing? What we doing? I could do something backstage.
Yeah, no, we could definitely talk backstage. So one of the things that we're doing is working with what I'm calling like kind of event vertical partners. And so we start identifying different verticals that we wanted to work within. So we already have a music partner, we already have a fashion partner. Film was one of the ones that I wrote down. So that's why I was like, let's
Oh
check. Yeah, and so there's a couple of other ones that I'm thinking, but I haven't made a definitive decision just yet. So
yeah, we'll
I
we'll
love
connect you
it.
with the underground. The queen of the underground film industry in Baltimore is Teresa Davis. I'll get you on her IG if you don't know her. Uh,
yes.
she rules. She rules these streets. She's got murals all over the city for a project she's been filming for like 2 years and ain't even dropped yet because she's still running with it.
Mhm,
And then Theo Washington is a casting director from Baltimore that put like probably over 1,000 people on with the HBO We Own the City.
mhm.
Um, what's the one lady? Baltimore's actually low key has a ton of film network. In like I'm like literally I'm one phone call away from anybody in Hollywood if
Okay.
you have relational equity in Baltimore. Um, that said, and then like the film industry is coming to Baltimore, right? So stick around. You said you've been here 4 years. I don't put on the air too much, but Amazon Studios is buying up properties, are vacants. They're turning into soundstead. Like they've been anchored here. Think about it. They've been anchored over East now for what since 2005 ish, about 20 years. So now Amazon Studios are starting to buy up properties. The film industry has you've noticed if you've been in Baltimore, you've noticed a lot more filming happening because it's coming, right? So like the gentrification, the LA, what they did in LA, what happened in New York, it's going to happen in Baltimore. And so part of what I do, it just like I said, keep my foot in the door and keeping it open is because when the industry drops and really starts making some heavy changes, the people that we serve, that me and Quita and our tribe serve, instead of being displaced, they'll have access to the industry, to the jobs, and to the money. And so that's why it's really important for me to be successful at and work hard at building a professional relationship in the film industry now so that when it comes down the pipe, you can just, Quida, whoever can just go say, oh yeah, I'm with Chap, and like that brand, that name will have, um, a quality to it that people already know about.
Okay.
So yeah, just building up the network, man. It's, do it for the culture.
So listen, I wanted you to talk about Be Local because I often show up at, what is it called? I guess I'll call them youth events with period products when we're giving out
Mhm.
hygiene, because they
Mhm.
don't often think about, like I mentioned when I stood up and talked to you all, like they don't think about that for young girls. So because Finley is that kind of company, right?
Mhm.
You had mentioned, I think you all had mentioned that you and Ariane are still doing some sort of working together, like you're working with her organization.
Yeah.
Without getting too much into what you don't want to get into, tell us a little something about the whole organization and everything, the whole
I will
movement,
say this.
really.
So yeah, so Ariana has done a really great job growing Finley, pretty much by herself up into this point. And so I started working with her last year as an innovation consultant. So really looking at it from the future and emerging technology and what else could happen and what else she can do. And so we've been having some really great conversations. So recently she was named Tech Company of Baltimore by Technically.
What do you mean, tech company? We're talking about hygiene products. Tell us more, Miss Jackson.
So she did this all without me, right? I just was on the tail end before it became public information. So she developed, designed a patent pending contactless feminine hygiene dispenser. Like, so if you know anything about the old school dispensers, you got to put a quarter in, you got to turn a knob, and then this really hard cardboard stuff comes out. Well, she made her dispenser sexy. It looks like an iPad or iPod or something like that, like Tesla looking design. And so she's using AI in it, which is amazing, right? Most people, when they think about, let's just say, a company like a feminine hygiene product company, they may not even think about like, how can I bring this into the future? And so, because she's a germaphobe, that's what she created, right? Like she didn't want something she had to touch, and no one carries quarters anymore. So she came up with that. We had a chat about it, and she's like, I think I'm gonna drop this video. And I was like, all right, there's nothing going on. So she dropped it. What was it? December 2021, and it went viral in a couple of days. And so shout out to her, right? I think that this is where people's minds need to be open with all of this technology, right? Because she was on AI before everybody else was on AI this year, right? And so
Right.
there's other conversations we need to have about what's next. But like, I just want to challenge anybody who's watching this. Is like, you're not too late with the metaverse, but you need to get on it this year.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you
Right.
really need to get on it this year, because every opportunity that you think you may have, if you wait 2 to 3 years, somebody else is going to snatch it up because they're going to do it. So,
Right.
yeah, if you have a crazy idea and you don't know how you're going to do, just at least get started.
And
Well, I'm sorry. I'm a germaphobe too. So when I saw that thing
Uh-huh.
and it was like sexy and technology, and I was just like, oh my God, who did this? So, I know you have a question, chat, but so one of the things that I mentioned is that, I have a background in computer science too. So I understand that there's disparities in data.
Mhm.
So with those hand machines, like we have to use like the palm of our hand because sometimes the dark side of our hand isn't even picked up in those kinds of things. Are
Mhm.
those things that Ariane had to even think about, or because we're so used to going like this and then doing the lighter side of our hand, you know what I mean? We're like,
Mhm.
it's just like habitual at this point.
Yeah, so I would say for years there's already been research that pointed out the bias of the sensors using the technology, right? And so this isn't new. She just knew of it. And so when she was designing it, she was just like, we got to make sure we use better sensors so that doesn't
Okay.
happen to people with darker skin. So
Right. That we're not using the cheap technology that doesn't account for this stuff that we've recognized is not being okay. So lovely, lovely.
yeah,
What were
no,
you
and
gonna
that's
add?
one more thing I wanted to add about that. There, and if anyone feels inclined to do this, a lot of Black researchers tried to reach out to the Facebooks and the Googles and anyone else who makes technology like this, and the researchers kind of pointed out like how the technology was racist in a sense, and I think only one major company actually met with the researcher.
Yeah.
Like they just
Yes.
didn't hear what
They
she had
don't
to say.
care. Right.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like, and that's why I'm asking. Like, not that if it wasn't addressed, she didn't care, but
Mhm.
maybe the technology was too expensive because not enough people want it. Like, it could have been a whole lot of things, but it was a thought that at least she thought about it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely thought about it. But I think as a Black woman putting out a technology product, you have to, because you can't put out a technology product that most of your own customers can use. Like that would
That
just be silly.
you can't not, right?
Yeah, you
You
cannot.
can't not. You would think so. You would think so, but
Yeah,
hmm,
but I think it's a conversation about luxury, right? When you are in a different group where you don't have to think about everybody, you can afford not to, right? Until somebody call you on it, and then it's like, oh crap, we got to do something. It's like, but you could have did the right thing from the beginning.
from the beginning.
Yeah, but just bringing this point all around, like forget them. All all our
It's
people
every day.
watching right
Every
now,
day, B.
all these people watching right now, the parents, the school administrators, like really get your kids into this, like get them excited about playing video games, have them explain it to you, have them so excited that they start building stuff, and then they kind of pull you in to show you. Like I want, thanks. I really want really excited children like that. Like I'm not worried about what these corporations are doing because they're going to keep doing what they're doing. But if we train our children to embrace not only being consumers of the technologies, but being the creators, we will put ourselves on a whole different trajectory. We got to be
Yes.
creators. We have to be
It's the
creators.
creators for me. It's the creators and the growers for me. We are growing gardens and planting seeds, y'all. You hear these gems dropping from Miss Bianca Jackson? Listen, are y'all listening to Miss Jackson? I'm just saying. I am just saying. So, is there any event that you have coming up that folks can support or tap into? Is there a way that we can support you this
I
Women's
was,
History Month?
yeah, I would say the only thing right now is maybe connecting with me on LinkedIn, because that's where I'll start posting stuff. Probably like next quarter. I'm still in like heavy laser focus mode, crossing the T's, dotting the I's before I'm out there like, hey everybody, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta tighten up the bow, because what's already happening in the rooms that I'm getting into, my personal goal is to have a stamp on everything related to the metaverse and anything emerging technology, especially in Baltimore. So you'll start seeing my name or the name of my business a lot of different places. And so that's the first step.
I love it.
Become
I
one
love
with
it.
Baltimore.
Yes, yes. I mean, you're already one with Baltimore. I told you when I met you, I was like, how she know all these people and why have I never heard of this place? What are we talking about? Like, how am I the only person that don't know? Went to follow you on Instagram. Everybody was already following you. I said, what? We got how many of the same? What?
So
It's a lot. It's a lot. Go
for
ahead.
my kids,
Yes.
is there an intentional, like I know you're giving good advice on just getting them plugged in and giving them exposure to it, right? But do you have you created yet an intentional like curriculum to introduce the kids to this process? Because we are in spaces, we're in schools, we're in gyms, we're in rec centers. Um, and so for me, I would say to you, is there a curriculum you can put together that we can make you a vendor in these spaces and get paid to share this information with the
Mhm.
kids?
Let's talk offline.
Okay. And how do people so how would people connect with you? You said LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn is
Um,
probably the best place, because I just feel like if you follow me on anywhere else, you're gonna see social stuff. But I post business and more like metaverse related stuff on LinkedIn.
okay.
Right.
All right.
Right. Right.
And
Okay. So
there's her LinkedIn, y'all.
Yeah.
Or
right.
just
On the beach is Instagram. In the metaverse is LinkedIn. I got
Yes.
you. I got you. Okay. We keeping them separate. The
that's good.
church and state are separate, y'all. And I understand that. Okay. Because
Yeah. So
I,
it's funny, like if you ever had like decent followings, right? So I don't know what decent could be for anybody, but to the point where people are rolling up on you and they're telling you what you had for breakfast, what your dog looked like. I was like, oh, I need to separate this stuff. It's too much.
Like I don't. That's how they knew you, because you was posting your whole life. You was giving us all the content and
I
all the
was,
data.
and I just had to pull back. I was like, all right, this is gonna go over here, that's gonna go over there. Yeah.
Okay. Everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Well, we have a brunch pitch coming up next Wednesday,
Brunch pitch?
March 15th. It's called a brunch pitch. That is just the let me see. The come on, girl, get it together. The branding of it all. But really it's like a pull up and pitch contest.
Okay, cool.
And it will be at Loyola. So if you know any folks in real estate and you have a brick and mortar, so it sounds like real estate to me, but I don't know. I'm not going to just be putting stuff out there like that. But
Where on
Black women,
Loyola's campus?
it is off, right, because it gets crazy, right? But the library. So the Loyola Notre Dame Library, enter from York Road. It says it, y'all. If Chap, can you show it again? Y'all read the thing, because it's, you can't see it here, but it says it on the picture that you cannot get to the road from the actual campus. It's a problem, right? See, it's on there because people get lost, and we're going to start at promptly at 6 p.m. So tell a friend to tell a friend. We're going to put the what is it? The Eventbrite details in the comments. But pull up and pitch. Novice and experts all are welcome. You'll get to get some pitch coaching, some technical assistance, a couple of interviews. Like, come on and network, if nothing else, right? So, Chapel, you got anything you want to share with folks?
Well, thank you, Bianca, for your time. Thanks for kicking off our celebrating women this month, and it looks like we've got guests lined up for the next 2 months. But thank you for being our first, and thank you for your time tonight. I know it's valuable. So I don't know, just gratitude, man. Thank you so much. It's great, like talking to you. It's going to be great building a relationship as you keep moving forward in Baltimore. Hopefully, we can plug in and do some stuff in the community, do stuff for the community, and. No, I have. Well, I'll tell you what. How much time we got? We don't have time. So next Monday, y'all. Not to take away from our women, but I am going to show you guys a really cool promo we put together for the Agogi project. It's over in Bel Air.
Ori is a member of the Agogi project,
that's right.
So that's all we're going to talk about is Miss Ori, because she looked just like me.
That's right. And the world champion female jiu-jitsu wrestler who has visited the gym a couple times now and engaged our kids in East Baltimore. She also looks like you guys. So we love that.
I love it. And what were you going to say?
I just say I love it. That's it.
Look, this is a love fest. Bianca, we would love to invite you back to our love fest again and again and again. So if you have something you want to promote or you want to come on, because you do this also, like you're totally a facilitator and a conversationalist. So it's so easy. Like it's so just amazing. You would think that we knew each other, right? Like,
we like those connections.
Yes, I mean, and I be stalking Black women in Baltimore, so that's another thing. Like, I'm like, oh, her? Yep. That's gonna be my good girlfriend one day, someday. Don't y'all worry, okay? But I'm gonna let y'all go. We're gonna be back, same bat time, same bat channel, next Monday, 7 p.m. Thanks for coming out. God bless, and good night, folks.